Hi, everyone. My name is Yvonne Villarreal, a reporter with the LA Times, and I'm joined today by who many have referred to as the unsung anti-hero of Scandal, the smartest woman in the room, the scorned wife, First Lady, Melly Grant.
Woo!
Here with Bellamy Young, who plays Melly Grant. Thanks for joining us today.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me. My goodness.
I really am sad, though, because, you come off yesterday's appearance at KTLA where you got to read the Critics' Choice Awards, and I have nothing here to, surprise you with.
You say that, but now I feel like that's a giant setup.
No,
There's
right?
something like a bucket
and
of something.
Yeah. How was that? Was that crazy?
It was crazy because it didn't, it didn't occur to me. And then he's like, did you notice? And I thought, I've left someone's name off. I really was horrified that I had, crushed someone's day. And then you get your hopes up, and then you think, don't get your hopes up in front of everyone. But then it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. I've never been nominated for anything. So to find out that way was...
How did you celebrate?
I went to Cafe Gratitude and ate 2 breakfasts instead of 1. I'm not even lying.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I wanted something savory and something sweet, and so I was like, you know what, today I'm having it all.
You're going in. Well, when we first met Melly, she was sort of like this barrier to Olivia and Fitz, and this season in particular, we've really seen how she's grown. Why don't you talk a little bit about this journey for her? In the pilot, you had 2 lines or 3 lines, and now you're this full-fledged, meaty character. So talk a little bit about that.
I got cast the day before I worked. One of the lines was "live," right? But I knew Tony was playing the president, and he had directed me on Dirty Sexy Money, and he is, just an incredible human and an incredible director. And I knew Carrie was the lead, and I loved her work for so long. And Shonda's script is always, any script you get from Shonda is always, fathoms above anything else you've seen in any measure of time. So I was so excited to just be there, and I wanted to try and be the right person to be Tony's wife. And so I said my little lines.
Did you practice that over and over in the mirror?
Of course. Exactly. And they give you direction in the audition, and you're like, yes, and I will do it this way, and I will do it this way, and whatever.
Yeah.
But we got picked up, and then Shonda said it might be a 3-episode little arc for Melly, and I was so crushed because I just wanted to be there, anytime they wanted me. And then it turned into such a sort of fulcrum. And I've loved every second. They write incredible stuff for me to dig into. And I'm so lucky to have this chance. I'm a 40-something woman in Hollywood. I know how lucky I am. So I work really, really hard to show up with my whole heart and being and, life experience and try to just enjoy every moment, as deeply as I can. And I get to play with the greatest people. This cast.
They're all right.
Fine. They're okay, right?
Yeah.
Right on. They're okay.
They're all right. Tony Goldwyn, who wants to look at that?
Whatever.
Yeah.
He'll do on a Thursday.
Well, in this season, 2 storylines that sort of stood out was we learned, some backstory on Melly with the rape and Jerry Sr. But also, she got a little bit of love.
I know. It's so interesting, right?
So fun. But I guess let's first start with, what was your initial reaction when you read that, hey, she's going to have a little affair of her own here? Were you like, yes?
It's so interesting. I've never been in the position where, the longest jobs I've had have been on Broadway, where you're telling the same narrative 8 times a week for, a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I've never gotten to grow with a character like this, where you really meet it like you meet life. The day before we start the episode, we do a cold reading of the script, and we find out what the next bits will be. And it's thrilling. But it's also so interesting because, like life, you just have no idea what's going to come. So particularly the rape episode was a lot, right? To just, it was a lot, and it was such an honor to play that.
Yeah. Did it click for you? There was a lot of debate about the whole likability thing, but all that stuff aside.
I know, that's so interesting, right? And I guess that's something that is up to everybody else to
Right.
decide. I was really honored to play the narrative. I think that happens a lot more than people talk about. And I love Shonda because she puts stuff on screen in terms of even body types or sexuality or ethnicity, but she puts stuff on screen that doesn't often get represented. So proud to represent that storyline, that so that people can see themselves there and can see the impact of how it shapes a life. And you know, I consider us all survivors, but we have to make choices to survive, and it really does dictate the course of the road that goes ahead of you. And yeah, I was so honored to be a part of that that narrative. And Barry Bostwick was incredible to get to, because you don't, you know, you have to have somebody great to go through all that with.
Yeah.
But to be with John Tenney, who plays Andrew, when the like love and what was our past, it took a couple of episodes to figure that out. But it's amazing to have lived even just this short amount of time, let's say 3 years, with someone with this character, and have been so used to not getting really maybe a crumb of kindness, but no true love or anything. So it was interesting to watch her find out how comfortable she even was with that, with it allowing herself to be cared for in the least, much less adored, because Andrew really adored her.
Well, and that's hard for her to sort of let
so
in.
hard.
Like she's one of those people that is kind of like keeps love like this because of all the stuff that's happened to her.
And you think it's like when you are trying not to cry and you're like, okay, and then someone hugs you and it all just goes It's like that with Melly. I think she's just been like holding it in the road for so long, and then one little like breeze of kindness just melted her little glacier. So
Is that what we call it? The little glacier. Well, aside from the flashbacks being fun to watch for wig purposes and stuff like that, they offer a lot of insight into the character. And like you said, we learn, you know, a little bit about her motivations because of the rave and like her past with Andrew.
Yeah.
How is that like for you? Because does it change the way you approach Melly? Because what had your backstory for her been prior to knowing this about her, and did it like sort of change how you approach her? It was also sort of a amalgamation of a question that we also got. I'm trying to weave it in there.
I like it. Weave it up. I really, Tony and I did a lot of work on the marriage, like our backstory with the marriage, but it also stays pretty fluid because
you never know.
Sean and our writers are better at writing than we are. I don't know if you know that,
about that,
but they are a little bit better than So we try and keep it loose, but also the way I work is I'm given beautiful words, and so I do everything I can to show up with them so deep in my marrow that I can just sort of ride the truth of the scene and trust my scene partner, and things can. It's never more. There's nothing more dangerous for me than deciding something before I work. So I just have to really, I use my little voice memo and I learn my lines sort of, I read them like a robot, just like this, without any punctuation, and I learn them like that. I go on a walk and I learn it all. And then like the next part of my scene is I say all the other people's lines and I leave a blank space where I can like say mine. So that's how I learn my lines, and that's how I do my work, and I see my coach and whatever. But then when I show up, I literally am just trying to find the truth in the moment, and it goes such unexpected places because that writing has a lot of nuance, and our directors are so insightful. We have great leadership, and so I try and just really get the homework, get the foundation under me, and then just really be present. And so finding out different stuff about the past always informs, like it always puts just another you know, piece of foundation, another caisson underneath you, because it's so well built, you know, with our writers. But I still approach things the same.
Because what was this backstory you and Tony had like sort of built up there? And how is it different than from what?
I was going to say, from the time that we started the pilot, like I'm not even sure I can remember. Like we had pages and pages of like where we were from and how we'd met, and it's all changed because slowly the true, and some of it's made it in, but so it's slowly been replaced by the truth, or what has become the truth. And sometimes we film scenes that don't make it in the edit, because the final edit is Shonda's final rewrite. And so we have to really be clear on, because it didn't happen if it didn't air. So we have to sort of like excise that, and like keep clear that we were over here. So now it's really an amalgam. I can't even. Who even knows what we thought to begin with?
Well, is it hard to even remember like what happened like last season? I mean, things change so quickly. It's like whiplash on the show in a great way. Like you're like always on the edge of your seat. But is it hard for you to remember what your character has gone through, or it's there in some shape or form?
I think it's always coming with you, because it's always truth, and it gets in your cellular. It's like you have a hologram that has a second cellular memory, right? It's not part of you, but it's definitely like I put on that wig, and it's like, oh yes, like I know what's up. But it gets hard. Like I always try and reread the script before I do any like interviews or anything like that, to get myself really clear. And maybe some people, this is still really new for me too. So it's because you're doing a job and sort of commenting on the job you're doing at the same time, and so maybe people get more fluid with that. But yeah, I still have to really concentrate about it.
Well, and I was like trying to do like a refresher of the last season before this, because I'm like, maybe I'm forgetting something. And there was like a list, and I think it was on ABC, where it was like the 80 best moments from season 3. And I'm like, the 80 best moments? Like some shows don't even get like 10, and you guys have like 80 things that are worth remembering. But so given that, when you're reading a script and how things sort of change, or the like climactic parts of the show, are there any moments where upon a read you're like, are we gonna like jump the shark here? Like this is too crazy. Like this is too wacky. Or what would the show have to do to jump the shark?
Gosh, well, kind of horror, poo, poo, poo. No jumping of no sharks. No sharks at all. I'm terrified of sharks. I am. I have bad dreams about sharks last night. It's so funny that you say that. I brought them with me. Every week we get a script so crazy. And also so good that I worry for the next 8 days that I will never see a script that good again in my life. And then I sit down and they up themselves. So, I don't know how far they can push it. I know they do fit like a season in an episode. So it is unnerving and bewildering and thrilling and the most fun to play, and the most challenging to play. But I don't know, they keep it, they ground it. Even Mellie's most histrionic bananas moment is still coming out of some sort of true emotion. And life is crazy. You see crazy all the time. So it's somehow that it's so inflated makes it somehow like hyper real, but still real. I don't know. May we never jump a shark. May it just go like helter skelter all the way for as long as it can.
Top of the show, I mean, I use the terms the unsung anti-hero, the smartest woman in the room. What are some of the like weirdest or best adjectives you've heard or descriptions about Melly Grant?
Oh, I don't know. I think maybe I try not to like document them, because then I think I'd be playing an idea of her. I know what people say to me a lot is, I love to hate you on TV. And so I dig that, because as long as you're invested, like as long as you're feeling something, it's awesome.
Was that hard to get used to, though, that people would say that? Because you ideally
always
want
say
to
it with delight,
Yeah.
I mean, truly. And I think that's one of the great things, too, about the show is no one's white and no one's black. Everything is morally complicated. So, and that's like life too. There's no good people, there's no bad people. Everything is just complicated, and you do your best to get through the day. So I don't know. I don't know about adjectives. I feel like I failed you on that one.
No, you didn't. It's an honest answer.
All right.
Let's work in some questions from the fans who go crazy for you and Scandal.
I'm glad wherever you are, I love you.
She loves you guys. We have one from Rachel wanting to know, do you think knowing about the rape and now their son's death will bring Fitz and Melly together or drive them apart?
think both. I think it's like life. Like anytime someone loses a child, I can't imagine many things more horrible to go through, and it bonds you as much as it cleaves you. And if Shonda is, true to being Shonda, I think that she will ride that ripple for as long as she can. But that was seismic this year. That was some seismic stuff.
Yes.
But even with the revelation of the rape and Olivia telling my business.
Yes.
Even with that, like, it sort of brought them together, but it's just never easy because it's never easy in life. Right? You want to forgive somebody, but you still really hate them, and you can understand it with your head, but your heart is still like a boil.
Yes.
So I love it. Like and that's the best, right? Like that's what you want to see anyway. You want to see us miserable.
But why do you think she still has that deep love for him? That she's still
can you understand why you love who you love? You cannot understand. It doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you can't control yourself. You do crazy stuff that you would never do in your right mind. Love makes you crazy. Yeah.
That's going to be stitched on a pillow soon.
It's my tattoo. You just can't.
Well, to that point, Yana asked, do you think Melly's loyalty to Fitz is a strength or a weakness?
Both. I'm certain of it. I feel like it's her fuel and her Achilles heel. I think it's interesting. Melly has so much possibility, so much ability, and yet she's still a woman in a man's world. So her choices were to back her man, and she's done so valiantly and phenomenally. But it's also turned in the sort of little Hugh Hefner fingernail, right? It's turned in on her and has made this ugly side of her that really is her will probably be her downfall, and has been at many glorious moments. I mean, it has. But I think that's what love does, right? Love makes us vulnerable. Right. So it brings out the best in us and it brings out the worst in us.
What did you make of that scene where Fitz is sort of casting all the blame on Melly? This is because of you.
Because I thought we were going to say, what did you think of the interview where he was like, I'm to blame. Leave her alone. But yes, you're right. Oh,
the character. Yes.
Exactly. Fitz in your capricious ways. It was a shock, right? And I loved it because it was a real, even these table reads, I love them so much because the table reads for us are watching the episode for you guys because we go on the ride for the first time and it's bananas. And
do you have to not eat before a table read because it's just all gonna...
She didn't warn us one time. She was like, "You need to." She warned you guys too.
Yes, oh my God, it was the worst.
Yeah. But usually I'm in the middle of a work. I know we're not talking about it. But usually I'm in the middle of a work day, so I'm just getting through the work day. But that monologue at the table read was of course upsetting because of its content, but it was so I was just like, what? And I feel like Melly would be that too. How could I? She could never have conceived of that perspective, which is brilliant storytelling. It really, really is. And so it melts Melly's heart, but it just makes her even angrier. And she sees Fitz in a whole new light, and she's trying to tell him. She's tried for 10 years to tell him why, but she can't because she's still so mad at him. It's awesome.
How about when you read the scenes, the steamy scenes between Olivia and Fitz? Is that hard for you? Are you
I do tend to quibble a little. I'd be little of that.
Nice. Yes.
Just under, but registered. There was only one that I had to actually walk in on, and I hated that morning. I had to walk in and catch them. I was delivering election results or something, or the polls are in, or they had the polls and they were in the Oval Office and they were kissing, and I was like, whenever you want to share those polls, but I hated doing that morning. I was like,
How about I'm just loving that part. Well, back to Andrew. I mean, we had one reader asking if you were writing the show and Well, her Twitter name is also Bellamy because she really loves you, clearly, or he.
Thank you.
If you were writing the show, would you have Melly end up with Fitz or Andrew?
Just be glad I'm not writing the show. It wouldn't be anywhere near as interesting. That's all. And I'm down to do whatever Sean wants me to do.
Hypothesis. Who would you want?
I don't know. I don't have any idea. I don't even know. Because I feel like Andrew is great for her, and I feel like she really loves him and feels safe with him. But I feel like she loves Fitz in that once in a lifetime. What is it with Fitz? Does he have like crazy pheromones? I mean, what is it that everybody like get two great, capable women are just lose themselves and all their sense for love of him?
Melly and Olivia need
so it's
to
hard
team
to
up.
say. I know. I love the scenes that I get to do. They're so fun to work with. And all these guys are. But and I never get to see anybody in the OPA. Finally, Darby came to the White House this year, and so that was a lot of fun. Remember, she like was Gabby. She took over. She tried to be yeah. I do love it because we're formidable together, Olivia and Melly.
Yes.
That scene, the lunch scene at the beginning of the second act, our second half.
Well, how about just acting with her during this pregnancy state and like having to find all the ways that they have to shield
I think I can talk about that now. Now I think that's it was. You know what was most amazing is that she was as indomitable and supportive and incredible. Number one. I mean, I think I would be whiny and complaining and have my feet up somewhere. Bring me figs. No, I don't know. But she wasn't. 16 hours later, still in, wedge heels, not stilettos all the time, but of a huge heart and generous spirit, cheering on the crew and making sure that we had everything we needed in the scene.
And hiding behind lamps.
And behind a plant if she needed to be.
A plant, yes. Was there a scandal baby shower?
I can't talk about all that kind of stuff. That's all private stuff.
Okay. Well, how about the drinking aspect that we've seen with Melly?
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is where the truth comes out with her. We see her like in her realness here. What's it like seeing her go through this though? Like, are you worried about how far it's going with the drinking, or is it fun to explore this side of her where she like will say what she feels?
I don't know what's ahead. I feel like we tried to put the drinking down once we lost our son. I loved how he took care, like Fitz took care of me in that, and then I was trying to take care of him at the end, calling Olivia. It's the strangest way to take care of your husband. But sometimes strange things happen. But I have loved it so much. I have loved Drunk Melly so much. I mean, I love Pregnant Melly too, don't get me wrong. She was unleashed too, but to have only known Melly, like we were talking, in a very buttoned down, very introspective, but also, ninja version.
Also judgmental of others.
Judgy, but ninja judgy, right? But she's drunk, it's like all bets are off, right? Sawed-off shotgun. Like she just, and it's so fun to see her be that girl, and you see a little bit more of maybe why they got together or how they got together, because otherwise you think, how did they ever even kiss? Like, how did this ever happen? But Drunk Melly, you're like, yeah.
Well, and I love that it's whiskey that is her
hooch,
drink
baby,
of choice.
Hooch. Yes. I am straight up out of the mill, out of the still, hooch. Melly doesn't play.
She really doesn't.
She goes to the source.
She goes to the source. Well, I know you've been asked this a lot, but I feel like it must change given how the shows change each time and it gets crazier and crazier. But do you looking back on season 3, what's been your favorite? And what's been like, because you guys get so intense with like the monologues and when you're like yelling at each other, but has there been one where you just couldn't get through because you guys were laughing so much?
I think they laugh more and dance more at OPA. Okay. We're the senior citizens over at the White House. And we tend to be, because when Tony, first time Tony directed, he was like, it's so different at OPA. And we're like, what? Why? How? So laughing. There's a good one on the blooper reel where I was trying to, and it's scandal pace. So sometimes you're not quite awake.
Uh-huh.
Or the lines are as far as maybe your eyeballs, but they aren't quite up in your brain hole yet.
Uh-huh.
And so you're trying to do it all really fast. You're trying to do it all really like letter perfect. We are letter perfect. And I had something I was coming in to say to Jeff, and I just didn't. And I kept coming in and trying to say it, and then be like, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying. Like. And those are horrible moments because our crew is incredible and you don't want to make them wait, right? And you want to get those beautiful little words out in their beautiful little like mansion form.
Mansion form.
Yeah, so that day drove me crazy, I will say. But like fun stuff this year, silly fun was shooting. So that was a fun day.
Yeah.
John Tenney and I had a super fun day of shooting those crazy shotguns. That was just a fun field trip and learning experience. And yeah. Well,
we have another question from Jill Millman.
Yeah.
If you could play another character on Scandal, who would it be and why?
Golly. If I could play another character on Scandal, who would it be and why? I don't know. I'd be good at anything. So I'm not saying I'd be good at anything. But I like watching Scott be Jake. So I guess that's not the right answer because I still want Scott to be Jake, but Jake is I have loved watching the evolution of Jake. I'll say it that way.
Did you guys give him a hard time about that ad he did with the...
He gives himself the first hard time, which is the joy of Scott Foley. He gave us all gifts of...
towels?
He did. They were all in a lovely little wicker basket. We had towels and we had bath robes. And there was on the front, there was a big placard with one of his shots on it, and he had drawn like pirate eye on himself and a bad mustache, and he's in on the joke.
I wonder.
Although I'm going to tell you, those are great towels. I'm not going to lie.
They're plush and stuff.
Yeah.
This is a very serious question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but were you jealous that you had no face licking scenes?
Well, they were off screen. We didn't want to be redundant. But don't assume I didn't get any face licking. No.
I was just like, this makes me uncomfortable, but okay.
And now it's their thing.
Yeah.
Right? We went to Washington, and even for their portrait, we went to Vanity Fair party, and they were doing these beautiful portraits, and they were with Valerie Jarrett, who's been so good to us and such a sweetheart. Everyone in the room was like, lick Valerie's face. And they were like, what? It's
like I don't even know how you prep your face to make sure it's like tasty for your co-star. It's really weird. Really weird.
I think it's Katie and Guillermo.
Yeah.
So they are made of sunshine and like teddy bears.
Okay.
So it's all good. They taste delicious, I'm sure.
What is it like living in Shonda land? Tell me about that. I would like to rent a house there.
I'm going to tell you, it's everything that you see in your dreams. Okay. Unicorns romp, and the clouds are made of rainbows.
And there's that roller coaster.
Sure, there's the roller coaster, and you don't have to pay for that. It's just there all the time for you for free. It's amazing. And in all like seriousness, Shonda is women's Shakespeare. Who is writing a beautiful monologue for a woman like our Shonda and our beautiful team of writers, because they are all, they break the scripts up. Usually the writer's room, they break a script and then one person goes out like a little satellite and writes that script and comes back. But they break the script together and then they all break off and different people write different characters. And so you retain a continuity of voice and then they come together and sort of Frankenstein the scripts back together. And it's, to be led by her, she's so thoughtful and so incredible and so good at what she does that she has an ease that allows her to be generous of mind, heart, and spirit. And also she's been through so many iterations of success that she's also such a wise leader. And she takes such good care of us as people and not just, chess pieces on a board. It's really a dream. Everything you feel in your mind and your heart that it might be, I'm going to tell you, it really, really is, and it's phenomenal.
Well, and she's getting an entire night in the fall. Thursday is Shonda night.
It's deserved. It's going to be great.
It's crazy.
Have you watched the new trailer?
Yes.
That show looks terrific. Pete wrote for us for a while.
I don't know if Twitter's ready for this.
I think it is.
It is?
I think it is. I think it's the next level. I think it's Twitter next level.
Well, heading into season 4, I mean, you guys are losing a cast member. How was that in terms of, was there a lot of discussion of how we move forward? And then heading into season 4, what would you like to see with Melly?
I don't know what will be in season 4, and no, in terms of discussions, that's all above my pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
Although we are very sad to lose Columbus. We love him very, very much, and always, always will.
Mm-hmm.
And golly, I trust them, man. As far as Melly goes, whatever they cook up. I mean, hopefully we have 4 more years of mayhem and magic, and I'm as eager to see as you are, and I'm super grateful to get to play it all.
Are you ready to be in that headspace, though, of a grieving mother? That seems like it'll be a lot to take in. Yeah.
I'm willing, girl. I'm willing for whatever Ms. Rhymes and our amazing crew cook up. This is the chance of a lifetime for me, so I'm just happy and grateful and loving every second.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm sort of tempted to steal you to give everyone in the newsroom a Twitter tutorial, because I feel like no one but Scandalcast does it better. So maybe after your photo shoot we can do that. But
I love it.
I want to thank everyone for joining us today. If you want to see more of our video chats, head over to latimes.com. Thank you.
Thanks.